Go Radio, I'm Christina Onnested. Donald Trump scored a commanding win in the Iowa caucuses last night, leaving his rivals languishing in the dust. Scoring more than half the caucuses, he was 30% ahead of Ron DeSantis, who trailed in second place. Nikki Haley came in third. Vivek Ramaswamy ended his campaign endorsing Trump. Trump spoke at his victory celebration, outlining his domestic policies if he wins the White House last night.
Drill, baby, drill, right away. Drill, baby, drill. We're going to seal up the border. Because right now we have an invasion. We have an invasion of millions and millions of people that are coming into our country.
Caucus voters turned out in low numbers and during life-threatening cold and dangerous driving conditions to meet in hundreds of schools, churches, and community centers across the state for the vote. Today, Trump's expected to attend the penalty phase of a New York civil defamation trial stemming from a columnist's claims he sexually assaulted her in a department store dressing room in the 1990s. A May trial found Trump sexually abused E. Jean Carroll, awarding her $5 million for the abuse and defamation for remarks in 2022. A jury today will determine how much Trump owes Carroll for denying the assault and mocking her while he was president in 2019 in a second suit she filed. Trump is appealing the findings of last year's jury and said Carroll made up the claims to sell a book. U.S. Navy SEALs seized Iranian-made missile parts and other weaponry from a ship bound for Yemen's Houthi rebels in a raid last week that saw two of its commandos go missing, according to a U.S. military statement today. The raid marks the latest seizure by the U.S. Navy and its allies of weapons shipments bound for the rebels who've launched a series of attacks in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden over Israel's war on Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Houthi Brigadier General Yahya Saree, spokesperson's comments were translated by Al Jazeera.
The Yemeni armed forces consider all American and British warships and vessels participating in the aggression against our country as hostile targets within the bank of targets of our forces. The Yemeni armed forces affirm that the response to the American and British attacks is inevitable and that any new aggression will not remain unpunished. The Yemeni armed forces continue to carry out their military operations and to impose a decision banning Israeli navigation in the Arabian Sea and Red Sea until the aggression on the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip ceases and the siege is lifted.
Monday's attacks on the Gibraltar Eagle came less than a day after Yemen's Houthi rebels fired an anti-ship cruise missile towards an American destroyer in the Red Sea. The death toll in Gaza has now topped 24,000, according to Gaza's health ministry. Worldwide demonstrations this weekend marked the 100th day of Israel's devastating assault on the Gaza Strip, which Israel launched after the bloody Hamas attack. Eileen Alfandary reports from San Francisco.
Thousands protested in San Francisco.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Ahmed is with the Palestinian Youth Movement, one of the sponsors of the San Francisco March.
We are here today to demand that the United States ceases to fund and diplomatically shield Israel as it commits this genocide.
The official death toll is nearing 24,000, with unknown numbers of civilians lying dead under the rubble. The majority of the dead and injured are Palestinian women and children. 10-year-old Zainab attended with her family, with Palestinian children on her mind.
I don't want kids like me getting bombed and killed for no reason in Palestine. And I want them to stop the genocide.
San Francisco healthcare workers were also out in force. Dr. Kira Levy wore her white doctor's coat pinned with a badge.
We're all wearing different badges representing colleagues that have been lost during this war.
Last Tuesday, the San Francisco Board of Supervisors voted 8-3 on a resolution calling for a sustained ceasefire, making the city the largest in the country to do so. For KPFA News in San Francisco, I'm Eileen Alfandary.
The head of 3 United Nations agencies warned of the possibility of famine and disease in Gaza. Max Pringle reports.
The United Nations World Food Program, the World Health Organization, and UNICEF issued the joint warning. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres told reporters that wartime conditions in Gaza have made it too dangerous for UN agencies to deliver aid.
The United Nations and our partners cannot effectively deliver humanitarian aid while Gaza is under such heavy, widespread and unrelenting bombardment. This endangers the lives of those who receive aid and those who deliver it.
The UN says the Israel-Hamas war, which started on October 7th with a brutal Hamas raid into southern Israel, has prompted unprecedented destruction and a humanitarian catastrophe that's displaced more than 2 million Gazans. The UN said the only way to really get the aid into Gaza at the levels needed to lessen the likelihood of famine and disease is for a lasting humanitarian ceasefire. Israeli government spokesman Elon Levy said the timing of the end of the conflict is entirely up to Hamas, which could free the more than 100 remaining hostages it still holds and lay down its arms. For KPFA News, I'm Max Pringle.
I'm Christina Onnested, reporting for Pacifica Radio.